moving immediately.
He's not alone. Find them and kill them all.
Something wrong? The exit should be up ahead.
You're there.
That's just how it is. After that commotion, the bottom floor's completely closed off. Hey, can you make it?
Over there. There's nowhere to run.
Fuck this. See ya. Persona!
Huh, what a show off. You're so reckless, you know that? Enemies here?
What's wrong?
These readings. It can't be.
What happened?
An ambush? Joker, can you handle this?
Joker!
Oh no!
Capture him!
It's go time.
Go, go, go! Get over there! Still struggling. Suspect secure.
Didn't expect to find some kid. You have your teammate to thank for this. You were sold out.
Suspect confirmed. Cuff it.
In case you're confused, this isn't what we're supposed to look like. Around a year ago, a 2015 build of Persona 5 had files with what people believe to be a female protagonist. A dedicated mod team, known as Red Hair Productions, made Kage Kurisu, and she will be our protagonist for this run. Her design was only in the beta folders of this game, so there isn't a lot we know about her. However, it seems like whatever they scrapped for Akage got reused for Sho Minazaku, this guy in Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, or however whatever it's called. Regardless, during the force femming process, our memories become clouded. We cut to a new character named Sai Nijima. She asks politely to be let in, but they seem hesitant. Apparently, she's a prosecutor who has resigned off the case. She's reluctantly granted her permission to enter, however, she comes in all alone. Sai here asks us to explain our entire situation in excruciating detail. We oblige, getting ready to recite the past 50 hours of gameplay. I guess we just have that kind of time. We get a shimmer of something important, a butterfly that is also desperate for us to reconstruct our memories, forgetting something crucial, and it's our job to remember that before the time runs out. Waking up, we begin to reminisce about our rebellious upbringing. We're viewed as a criminal going in due to a crime that we didn't commit. Some guy was harassing a woman, and our teenage moral compass just couldn't let that go. I see mumbles about steering the country or whatever. We tell him to leave this woman alone. His drunk ass trips, stumbles, and somehow manages to wound himself on the way down. That is genuinely a feat. I have no idea how you managed to get that blood on your face, yet barely any on your head. Would you, like, kiss the ground or something? Anyway, when we look up at the woman to, you know, do something, all she does is comply with his request to make us look bad. It's clear whoever this guy is could ruin our lives if he wanted. Thanks to the false testimony, we're guilty of assault. Yay. This dude talks all tough, but he lost half his hit points to a moderate incline, so you know. We escape the flashback within a flashback to see our new residents. We meet Sojiro Sakura, our father figure for this run, and he explains our entire backstory to us. We got sued by that guy, our parents are like mild acquaintances with this guy, he got paid to take us in, and we go to sleep for the day. We awake to an area called the Velvet Room. This is a place between dream and reality, basically a limbo of sorts. Pinocchio over here tells us that ruin is coming. His name is Igor, and he sounds a bit different than he did in the other few games. I wonder if that means it. He also has two Velvet Room assistants for us, Justine with the book and Caroline with the temper tantrum. We try to ask for answers, but we fall asleep. Sojiro shakes us violently, and he drives us to our new school, Shujin Academy. We get a tour and meet up with our teacher. She will be very important later. Traffic takes the whole day, and when we try to sleep, we notice an app on our phone. We ignore the pop-ups, taking the train to school the next day. It's here we spot a woman for the first time and stare at her for an ungodly amount of time. Like a Kage, girl, please look away. She's clearly uncomfortable, dude, please. She gets into the PE teacher's car while frowning. As an empath, I get the vibe that she might not like this guy. Masterful analysis complete, this guy runs up to us and just starts spewing shit. Like, dude, who the fuck? This is apparently a student at Shujin. We make our way over, getting a light headache from just moving, and we end up at the castle? Do you know what a school is? We walk in, guards show up, this dude doesn't have any survival instincts, and I'm once again doomed by the narrative to be trapped in jail. We spend some time in jail until we see, oh look, it's the guy! Apparently his name is Kamoshida, and he's a PE teacher at Shujin Academy. He comes in, beats the shit out of Sakamoto, and he goes to execute him. We decide that being a bystander is the most effective way to escape, the guilt causing us to suffer a minor migraine. Kamoshida, bored with his food, decides that he actually wants to kill us first instead. We awaken the rebellious will inside us, calling upon the power of God and anime. Better exposition later, we get a battle to survive. We steam through the first combat and lock Kamoshida up. Thank God. He's also supposed to be the king of this castle or something. Our drip drowns and we book it. Searching the prison area, we hear someone pleading for assistance. Turning over, we see a sentient cat. Did he drug me or something? This cat's name is Morgana, and he strikes a deal with us. If we help him out, he'll show us the exit. Since we're currently in fight or flight, sure, why not? Caution to the wind! Running through this place, we manage to bolt out of the castle. As we do, something on our phone welcomes us back to the real world. Police notice Shujin students outside of class, so we sort of have to go back to school. This time, however, we actually see a normal school building. So what was up with the castle before? We get chewed out by everyone, and Sakamoto asks us to meet up on the roof to figure out if what we saw was actually real or not. We learn his first name is Ryuji, and after gaslighting him into thinking he dreamt it all, I then head home for the day. During my fitful rest, I find myself inside the Velvet Room once more. Igor takes the time to explain what happened. Our power is dubbed Persona. A persona protects a person from the distortions in the metaverse, and the Eyeball app allows us to navigate the metaverse. The next day, we managed to head out to school without any castles coming in our way. Unfortunately, we suffer every introvert's worst nightmare and get picked to answer a question. After a 30-second Google search, we answered the problem correctly and huh. So in Persona 5, we have social stats. These will be useful for later, just trust. Look, for you it's been like a minute, but for me it's already been 2 hours, and if I want any engagement, then I gotta pick up the pace. Ryuji ambushes us and attempts to recruit us for his castle investigation. We end up not being able to find it, but Ryuji's able to rub his 2 brain cells together to remember there were noises coming from my phone the other day. We click a few buttons, search through our search history, and end up re-triggering the navigation. Inside, we find Morgana already in the middle of his own investigation, and Ryuji requests to find the prisoners from earlier. Morgana expresses disinterest because he's just a massive dick, but we don't need his permission. We go anyway, killing some guys and arrive at our first safe room. Here's where we get an exposition dump. Okay, so this is Kamoshida's palace, a world created through his distorted desires within the metaverse. His palace is a castle because he views the school as if it were his castle. Essentially, this is his heart. The Kamoshida we saw from earlier wasn't him, it was his shadow. They're separate yet the same. The shadow is like your subconscious, your true inner self. When your desires become distorted enough, your shadow becomes a palace ruler, and your palace reflects your cognition. Cognition is just a psychology term and basically a fancy way to say your mental perspective. So these distorted desires create a distorted palace, and these safe rooms are weak points in those distortions. You keeping up so far? No? Good. Ryuji has a gun. Just kidding, it's a model gun, but the realer it looks, then the better. If an enemy's cognition allows them to think it's real, then it just becomes real. In base Persona 5, you also had to buy ammo, but in Royal, that's not the case. In canon, the enemy now just assumes you've got a full clip at the start of every battle. It's only not endless because, well, you have to run out of ammo at some point, right? It's here where the human-looking shadows are revealed to also be parts of Kamoshida's cognition. These aren't actually people from reality, nor is it their actual shadows. This is Kamoshida's cognitive view of them, shadows that looked and act like the students because he mentally views them as his slaves in the school, which he views as his castle. Basically, they aren't real, but since he views the students like this in his cognition, it's very possible that he does similar things to them in reality. After Ryuji memorizes their faces because the camera app won't function, we attempt to leave Kamoshida's palace. We get interrupted by his shadows and face a scripted loss. Trust, I had that fight for sure. Ryuji can't take this injustice, and his rebellious will flares up. He swears Kamoshida's shadow out before his head starts pounding. Ryuji has triggered his awakening, and we get to see Ryuji's Captain Kid. This persona is based on both physical and electric skills, known as Zio. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention that Morgana's persona is Zoro, a persona that uses healing and wind skills, also known as Garo skills. After Ryuji's awakening, we exchange a few words, and Kamoshida has a, not so awesome looking shadow in the form of the woman we saw earlier. We abandon Morgana cause fuck 'em, and we need a moment to catch our breath. Me and Ryuji connect a bit, and it causes us to develop something called a social link. A social link is a bond we have with a person. Higher levels will give us more benefits, and they go up to rank 10. Since Ryuji is a team member, his social link has a ton of things that every team member has. A talk skill, follow up, Harrison recovery, endure, and finally protect. Ryuji not only gets those usual teammate benefits, but he also gets insta-kill. Once you get to a certain level, this pretty much kills any shadow who isn't worth your time. It's perfect for grinding and reducing the security level of a palace. Fun fact that isn't scripted, but I'm just now remembering when I get to this point. Confidants had a doubt mechanic originally, where whenever you didn't spend enough time with them or you just said the wrong thing, you would be doubted and eventually broken. In the folders, there are beta files as well demonstrating this mechanic, and it was just an annoying way to like make you need to spend more time with your confidants and such. It's only speculation, but I assume they didn't really use this since you already have to use so much time in Persona 5, and the only way to get every confidant in your first save would be to like really optimize the game in a not fun way. But yeah, it's just worth noting that they were going to continue doubts again like they did in base Persona 3 and Persona 4, but they ultimately decided against it, which I think was the better move. The social stats from earlier are also necessary for this. Some people need higher stats before they'll spend time with you, and leveling those stats up takes an absurd amount of time. That's why I have them maxed out already. But I did actually manage this without mods. I'll explain in a bit, trust. Anyway, we eat with Ryuji, he gets emotional over our very traumatic backstory of knocking a drunk old man over, and we go home. Igor summons us once more, teaching me about confidants and starting our own one as well, the Fool Arcana. His social link just kind of gives you the basic abilities, but it's automatic, so it just doesn't count. How do you want me to rank the tutorial guy? You know, it's like we head to the school the next day, watch a kid get hit in the face, and run off to find students who share the same looks as the shadows in Kamoshida's palace. None of them seem willing to speak up for some reason, hiding behind a veil of excuses. I guess we can't do anything. If only we had a method of altering his emotions in any way, shape, or form. Holy shit, a talking cat! Morgana teaches us about how a palace works. The core of a palace is called a treasure, and these treasures are manifestations of these desires. Without the treasure, the palace itself would collapse and the distorted desires would vanish. However, if done incorrectly, it would trigger a mental shutdown. Without desires, Kamoshida would die, unable to have the will or desire to take care of himself. It's a difficult balance between erasing his distorted desires and keeping his real ones. Honestly, if it were me though, I'd just kill him. I already got a criminal record, right? What do I got to lose? Regardless, while Ryuji's thinking it over, we find the same gal on our way back. The girl from earlier is just sitting here kinda in the middle of nowhere having an argument of some sort over her phone. After asking about it, she just says it's nothing and walks away. The only rational move at this point is to then go running after her. Seriously, how do we not look like a fucking serial killer? We have been staring at this woman almost every chance we got, eyes wide, mouth agape, and now we just chase her? And it works? She tells us her name is On. She complains about how her life sucks, tells us that she's only doing things for Kamoshida because of her friend, and how Shiho, that same friend, might lose her position on the volleyball team if On doesn't do what Kamoshida wants. After granting her our undivided attention, we leave, sleep for the day, and move on to the next. Today, a lot of stuff happens. I won't really go into detail because honestly, it's the sort of thing that I don't even know if I can really talk about it, but On's friend, Shiho, tries to do something reckless. She survives, thankfully, and we notice Mishima's odd behavior. It's at this point we force him to spill the beans. The physical abuse is confirmed, but it's revealed that it's not a secret. No one cares enough to help the students. This infuriates Ryuji, who darts off to go swear at real-world Kamoshida. When we follow and stop Ryuji from catching the same assault charge we have, Kamoshida threatens to expel us for such rowdy behavior. The impact on the school's atmosphere, the confirmed rumors, the threat of expulsion, and the iron fist that Kamoshida has on the school is put on full display. I actually enjoy how uncomfortable this is, how there isn't a single detail or emotion hidden. This is how the students would react to abuse, how the stress could cause someone to react like Shiho did, and how the self-righteous teenagers here would realistically want to do something. Life has a few ugly sides to it, and Kamoshida's palace is a clear exploration into things of that nature. I really like how they picked Kamoshida for the first palace as well. If topics in this sort of category are just too much for you, then you wouldn't be able to handle most of the game. We meet up with Ryuji and our minds are made up. We are going to infiltrate this castle and steal those distorted desires for the sake of everyone here. This way we evade expulsion and stop him from committing any more crimes against the people of Shujin Academy. On finds us attempting to use the nav and actually gets pulled into it as well. She spots us and the talking cat. Not good. We haven't even done our first infiltration and we already have someone outside the group that knows us. We decided to just kick her out of the palace by shoving her out and dealing with those consequences later. Before breaking in, Morgana calls us Joker, elaborating on how codenames are a necessity among Phantom Thieves. Since we're in a cognitive space, who knows what damage yelling real-world names would do. So Morgana is Mona, Ryuji is Skull, and we're Joker. With that out of the way, let's infiltrate. Right off the bat, we gain two abilities. One, the ability to finally dash, and two, we learn about Joker's unique persona advantages. As a guest of the Velvet Room, our power is different than most. You see, each person has a heart, granting them a singular persona. However, Joker is a wild card, granting us the ability to wield multiple different personas at any given time. So while Ryuji is stuck with Captain Kidd and Morgana is stuck with Zoro, we get both Pixie and Hester. Our reservoir of power vastly expands with the power of the wild card, granting us multiple elemental affinities and weaknesses to exploit. We progress like a room ahead before we hear shouting. Morgana goes to investigate and it's revealed that Ann came back by herself. I'm not gonna lie, this whole scene is just really uncomfortable, so let's skip to when she awakens. Ann has Carmen, a persona that specializes in fire skills. These fire skills are also known as Agi. After her awakening, we have a mini boss fight and head on home. Morgana, being the little shit that he is, forces himself upon my home, and Sojiro barely hesitates to allow a cat into the store. I really wish he would. Morgana grants us his social link, which doesn't matter in the slightest. Like Ryuji, he gets the teammate buffs that are actually decently important, but also like Igor, he just kinda decides whenever he wants to be closer friends with us, not really allowing us to navigate the social link. Alright, it's at this time that I think we should actually slow down a little. Let's talk about the game itself so far. Persona 5 Royal is like a small DLC bonus to Persona 5. It adds a grappling hook, DLC personas, 2 main characters, a 3rd semester, and an entire new palace for the endgame. In base Persona 5, you get to see the two sides of this game. By day, you're playing a social sim, and by night, you're playing a JRPG as a Phantom Thief. It's really interesting to see how these two systems interact, especially due to how time works in this game. You get 2 things to do, one in the morning and one in the evening. Palace jumping can only be done in the morning, and the metaverse tires you out a hell of a lot. Spending the morning in there will take the entire day instead. In the evening, after a visit in the metaverse, you'll be stuck in your room to do a low effort activity. I love how this really emphasizes the difficulty of balancing such a remote double life. Neither side really interacts with the other in ways you would expect. Following that, let's rewind a bit and relive the events of exploring Shujin Academy. When you walk in, you're viewed poorly. The way the students react to you and each other paints such a terrible view of this place. This is further influenced when seeing Mishima send Shiho to Kamoshida. Ooh. It's very clear that something awful happened, and it becomes the unfortunate motivation for her next action. This setup is a bit violent, but I find it to be incredibly necessary. Ann is motivated because, well, her friend almost died because of Kamoshida. Ryuji is motivated from that as well, although it's less as a friend to Shio and more of just an injustice of something so cruel happening to a fellow student. And us, the main character, are motivated due to the threat of expulsion, and frankly, this guy's a dick. He is so far into the dark shades of morality that it's such an effortless setup for an enemy. I find that most games struggle to give the boss a unique connection to you without making it feel like you're the target because you're the protagonist. That's further felt by Mishima's presence. He was manipulated into leaking your criminal record, and not even he is safe. You're clearly on the moral high ground, but you're just as defenseless as any other student. Alright, enough exposition, let's keep going. We decide on settling for the school rooftop as our hideout, needing a safe space to discuss our phantom thievery. It's decided that we need to gear up a little more, and Morgana, the little shit, decides to put medical supplies onto us. In LeBlanc, Sojiro mentioned one of his customers being a doctor of a nearby clinic. We managed to find her and go in to strike a deal with her. This is Takemi. In exchange for purchasing medicine, she's going to have us test her experimental drugs. Takemi's store expands as you increase her rank, and outside of the full heals or revives, it's just kind of mid. Party level effects are what give her any sort of priority at all, that and healing up outside of battle for just some yen instead of SP. Ryuji also tells us to meet up with him as he went back to the airsoft shop for better guns. This is our equipment center. The dude is named I actually don't know how to say that name. And in this playthrough, we don't really need him. With our equipment being virtually the same, we head back into the palace and grant on the codename Panther. That's all we managed to do before the twins show up. Apparently, Igor needs to see us. We head back into the Velvet Room, and here's where we're introduced to Persona Fusion. We also have the compendium, and it's almost filled out. How do we have maxed out social stats, endgame equipment, and 97% of the compendium completed? Didn't we just start? You see, this is a new game plus save file. When you max a confidant out, you get the ability to fuse certain personas, and I wasn't able to reach rank 10 with everyone in my prior save file. That's why I also one-shot like most bosses, despite us being on Merciless, the hardest difficulty of the game. With that weight off my shoulders, Igor's social link progresses, and we get the Third Eye ability. Honestly, I have such mixed feelings about it. Third Eye is the enhanced perception ability that I'm sure you've seen like a dozen times. My only problem with Third Eye is that it's too useful. It tells you where treasure is, footprints, interactable objects, how strong its shadow is, files your taxes, like it just gives you all the information you need to know. I get that it's just a button instead of being constant, so you can process the screen easier without it, but with how useful it is, I don't know, I find myself constantly holding the button down. We also grab our maxed out persona from my initial save file, Izanagi no Kami Pikuro. We grab just a few more personas with different arcana, since having the same arcana on both a persona and a confidant boosts your fondness with them, making the next rank easier to achieve. We gun through a few more tutorials, learn how to baton pass, get the hide button, Morgana gives us a grappling hook, we solve a book puzzle, we encounter a disaster shadow, it explodes, and we're given another mini boss. This is arching. Okay, maybe we do a little too much damage. After running around a bit, we are introduced to something called a will seed. If the treasure is the core of a palace, then these will seeds are like mini treasures. They're also physical manifestations of the coalesced distorted desires, and each palace will have 3 of them. These are actually a Persona 5 Royal Edition. In base Persona 5, these didn't exist. Although they are entirely optional, we want these desperately, as they will provide us with very useful equipment once we get all 3. We fight off some guys, find will seed number 2, find a heavily distorted area, and find the door to the last will seed. There's a powerful shadow that takes the form of whatever, it's dead. This is the Crystal of Lust, and it grants us the ability Diorama, a skill that heals a decent bit. We pass by this, Jesus, that's a safety hazard. It seems like the best way to pass by is to trigger this statue, and it needs 2 orbs to fill in the eyes. 1 eye is more than enough to find the first guard, and Third Eye shows which golden guard is holding the other eye. Despite knowing which guard is holding it, I'm just gonna kill them all anyway for XP. We put the eyes on the statue, walk past Kamoshida's lecture, and find the treasure room. This funky cloud of distortion is where the treasure will manifest, although we need to send a calling card first. You see, a palace ruler needs to be made aware that they have a treasure in the first place. Writing a calling card makes them cognitively aware of their distorted desires, and that's how their core becomes exposed. Apparently this can only be done once. After that, the treasure just doesn't manifest again? That never really made sense to me. Like, if you can't do it in that day, the person's distorted desires just kind of permanent. My headcanon is that it would just take far too long to be effective again. Usually you only get like a few weeks to act before you send the calling card, but I guarantee if you sent it in like a month or 2, it would probably manifest the treasure again. We spend the next 2 days on our social links before sending the calling card. We fast travel to the safe room, and just as we're trying to escape, we bump into Kamoshida's shadow. He takes his treasure back, then becomes a free. We start this battle with, he gives up his treasure and On decides not to kill him, thinking that repenting for the rest of his life is far better than letting him die here. Once he disappears, the palace then begins to oh shit, it's crumbling. There's no more distortion, so no more palace means, oh fuck, we gotta go! We scram, rushing out of the palace and just barely make it out. Once out, Joker reveals the treasure, Kamoshida's first place medal. This medal in the real world is cognitively what he saw the crown treasure as in his palace. It's the source of his distorted desires. This medal is also just a replica, not really the genuine thing, but we took the meaning out of it from his head. Like, it literally just means nothing to him now, so ha! Since we finished the palace so soon, we just do social links for 11 days. Also, side note, did you know there's audio clips of Joker saying the days of the week like Akage is right now? Despite that, this never actually made it into the final release of Persona 5. During the day after stealing the treasure, we get told that our expulsion was rescinded. We also unlock Sojiro's social link, although it's not the best. It just gives you the opportunity to spend a day making coffee and only sometimes make curry in order to heal some SP. It's not that it's bad, there's just so much more you can do with your time. Halfway through it as well, it gets put on pause. We gotta wait until August for story stuff to catch up. With Expulsion Day finally arriving, we are all brought in for an announcement. Kamoshida just confesses everything. The physical abuse, the way he treated the female students, all of it. It actually worked. We spend the next day, oh, Hi, Sai. We spend the next day pawing this medal off to his name's in the script. I still can't say his fucking name. We get 30k yen out of it, which is like $200. He also gives us a bag with a pretty real looking gun, and we start a social link with him. This social link, while being decent, is nothing special. It lets us add camos to our guns, increase the damage, accuracy, etc. All that stuff. Using the earnings from the medal, we spend the next day at the buffet with our team. After eating a little too much and walking with Ryuji to the restroom, this asshole bumps into us, and wait, why does his voice sound so familiar? As we enjoy the moral victory, Ryuji brings up the idea of continuing the Phantom Thieves due to how that shitty adult treated him. With that, the Phantom Thieves keep going, needing an actual official name for the group. On suggests the Diamonds, and everyone will actually react to that name if you write it down. We're just gonna settle on Gimbal Gang, but in my headcanon, they're just called the Phantom Thieves. Sai interrupts us, not wanting to believe in talking cats or the metaverse, but she doesn't have time to ask too many questions. She asks us about our next target, Madarame. Mishima thinks we're the Phantom Thieves, so I gotta gaslight him into thinking he's crazy, and we learn about the Phantom Aficionado website. This is basically just a fan site where people ask for targets or post requests. On my way home, Sojiro throws us the spare keys and lets us explore as much as we want during the night. We also meet with Yoshida. His social link fucking sucks. He makes talking with shadows just a bit easier, but with having the answers on Google and having your friends give similar talk skills, it is just not worth it with how much time it takes. It takes us 2 entire evenings, just to even start the damn social link. And it's also just time sensitive as well. It's one of the only ones that end prematurely. This is just a prime example of a shitty social link. The Sun Arcana has like barely any personas anyway as well. All of them are mid as hell. The only reason to even give Yoshida a moment of your time is just to get his exclusives maxed out Sun Arcana persona, so fucking whatever. On to a lighter subject, the student council president, Makoto Nijima, hey, that name's familiar, is told to go find the students who are messing with Kamoshida, thinking they caused something. Makoto gives us a hard time and we tell her to stop being a teacher's pet. Walking away, Morgana also lets us know about a little something called mementos. You mean the shit I put in my Coca-Cola? Mementos is basically just everyone's palace. It's where the general public's shadows reside. The shadows here are people's distorted desires that aren't strong enough to become a palace, but aren't pure enough either to just be normal desires. The way you deal with mementos is going on the Phantom Aficionado website, using requests on here in order to target public shadows. Handling one of those public shadows, we get the name Madarame. That shadow also returns to his person, and we swipe the budding treasure before it becomes a palace. Oh yeah, and Morgana turns into a bus for some reason. That's because cats turning into a bus is widespread enough to the world's cognition that he can just kind of do that. Although I can't help but agree, it just does kind of make sense for some reason. Am I crazy for that? There's this kid in Mementos. His name is Jose. We will never truly learn bro's deal. Morgana eggs, and we get Mishima's confidant, the Moon Arcana. We work with the man in the airsoft shop in the evening, and on Monday, Anna gets the feeling that someone is stalking her. Monday morning, we spend time with the Kemi, and in the evening, we waste the 2 evenings for Yoshida. Fuck this prick. Wednesday through Friday are just exams, and we get introduced to the school's catboy, Taketo Maruki. After the assembly, Maruki lets us know that he has specific instructions to have mandatory counseling with all the students involved with Kamoshida. With our entire group being known as this one dude who exclusively beefs with Kamoshida publicly, the one woman who Kamoshida kind of, kept to his side, and also the school transfer student who has a criminal record and also dealt with Kamoshida. Yeah, we're part of that mandatory counseling. Who would have thunk? Maruki, being a generally okay guy, decides to form a deal with us. In exchange for doing counseling, he'll help us with mental training. If I am being 100% for real, Maruki is the best social link in the fucking game. He gives you tons of buffs that just trigger occasionally, he raises your SP amount, and he gives you a free item. Also, I'm gonna spoil the game a bit. Maruki is the only person you technically need to reach rank 10 with. If you don't reach rank 10, you just get the base Persona 5 ending, but if you do, you get the royal ending with the exclusive palace at the end. The palace that's not in the normal game. Yeah, that's how you get it. It's with him for some reason. Whoa. We bump into Yoshizawa, get therapy, and move on to Saturday. Here's where Ann's feeling of restlessness seems to peak, so we set up a little ambush to get the person that seems to be chasing her. Due to the workload, that is going to be the end of this video. As you can see, we've only just done the Kamoshida arc, and it's already about 30 minutes long. So after this video, give me a month or so, and I will have the Madarame arc next. I hope you guys are enjoying the Persona 5 modded playthrough, and I will see you in the next one.